Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to episode 239 of the Prancing Pony podcast, where Boromir was satisfied of our claim
to be the best Tolkien podcast this side of Bree.
That's right.
Not that our heads are big.
You mean you're not a king of Numenor?
No,
descended from the kings
not
of
that.
Numenor?
I no claim to that at all.
All right,
No.
fair enough.
Well, folks, go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sean Marchese, the Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the Man of the West, who would grieve to learn that Boromir is dead, Alan Sisto.
Do you mean that he is dead?
Well, I don't know where you were a couple of years ago when we got to that part.
Yeah, where have I been, right?
Yeah.
Well, folks, today we are going to watch as Faramir questions Frodo, with, of course, his attorney Sam present, in the first part of The Window on the West.
Well, hold on. I'm not sure that Sam is actually going to be able to pass the bar. At least not without stopping for a drink first, huh?
Ba-doom, boom.
I need my Fozzie the Bear gif.
I know, that's such a Fozzie joke. It really
Totally.
is. Terrible. Waka waka. All right.
Waka waka. All right, folks. Well, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome.
And we're not usually that silly.
No, not usually, not this quickly.
Fair.
Here at the Prancing Pony podcast, though, we are reading and talking our way through Tolkien's stories of Middle-earth, a few pages at a time.
We dive into the details, point out connections to other writings, talk about our favorite themes.
But we also make sure we have a lot of fun along the way. So we're glad you've joined us.
And we know you'll be glad you joined as well. Well, today we're bringing you another new installment of The North Wing.
Barlam and Butterbur had a room or two in the North Wing at the Prancing Pony Inn, made special for hobbits. Well, this is our place made special for some of our listeners, to give us a chance to get to know them.
Now, rooms at the North Wing are hard to come by, so only our patrons at the Bombadil's Bequest and Círdan's contribution tiers are eligible. Now, if you'd like to be one of the next patrons to join us, be sure to check out patreon.com/prancingponypod.
Oh, please do. We'd love to have you. Now, we do have a waiting list for the North Wing right now, but we're going to get to all of them soon enough, and we'll always make room for more if necessary.
That's right. Well, with that said, why don't we welcome tonight's guest to the North Wing, Dan Sinjanin.
Why, hello, everyone. And hello to you, Man of the West, and to Lord of the Mark. Thank you for having me.
It is truly our pleasure.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? What do your loved ones think of all this Tolkien stuff that you're into? Do they think you're a nerd? Do they like it too? That sort of thing.
All right. I'm from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. That's right across from Detroit. So you throw a stone over that river, hey, you're in my neck of the woods.
All right.
And what do? I am a high school math teacher currently. And
Wow.
I enjoy every little bit of it, working with children, teenagers, I guess it's high school, but working with them, it's really enjoyable. And as far as the Tolkien stuff, so my family and my wife, she's she's okay with it. She doesn't care too much about it. Like if I talk about it, she'll just roll her eyes and walk away, kind of thing. And in my immediate family, they're okay. My brother, he's into it, but not as much as I am. But he does like Tolkien stuff. But my friends, I only have one group of friends, and the Koloff family, let's give a shout out to them, who really got me into Tolkien when I was a child.
Oh, wow.
But
Cool.
So I have some other friends where if I show up to the party, they know I'm coming up. They always tell each other, "All right, guys, Dan's coming." No one mentioned Lord of the Rings. Because I would just go off on a tangent. Someone depends how many drafts or ales is around. I would ask someone, "Hey, have you seen Lord of the Rings movies?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I kind of seen it." Then I might dive into either just the history of the ring or go into Ainu Lindale and just give them a whole rundown. And so they learn after a couple times that, Dan, he just doesn't stop with this Lord of the Rings stuff. So everyone stands here, don't mention Lord of the Rings. As soon as someone does, you can hear the head smacks, like
Nothing like that happens to us, does it, Sean?
Never at all.
Never.
No.
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
That's awesome. Well, Dan, you should know the question that's coming next, which is the question we ask everybody who comes to the Prancing Pony. When and how did you first discover Tolkien's works? What was your experience like, and why do you keep coming back?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, like I mentioned, the Koloff family, I grew up with my best friend Chris there. His family's into Lord of the Rings, but it was kind of mentioned in passing. They never just put it in your face. But I always heard the name Gandalf or Aragorn or something in the background, and just kind of perk your interest a bit. And actually, it wasn't, I always was friendly towards it, but it wasn't until actually the movies came out when I actually watched The Fellowship with my friend there. And I just loved it, loved the movie so much. I read all the books. Like I was 20 years old at the time, and so a little late getting into it, but I was always introduced to Tolkien early, but so I had an idea of it. But it wasn't until the movies came out, I watched it and I read everything before the second movie came out, so I could go in fresh. We watched every movie like 5, 6 times at the theater, and so I
Nice.
always got into it. And what keeps me coming back is just every time you reread the book, or you just want to do like a wiki fan of any one of the characters. There's just so much lore. You can't believe how much detail that Tolkien just put into his work, where he created a whole universe and details of everything. There's always something to learn, no matter how long you study Tolkien or read the books. You're always going to learn something new. Like no one knows everything about his works. There's always something new to learn. So
Hmm.
that's what keeps me going back is, and it's just you're always gonna like pick up that metaphoric rock and discover something new
Mhm.
underneath. Like one of
Yeah.
your episodes I listened to, where you guys on air about talking with the voice of Saruman, and you made the link with Feanor, how Saruman was like Feanor,
Mhm.
and you guys didn't think of that until you actually read and started talking about it on the episode live, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
it's
Yep.
just we're always learning new things. So that's what I loved about Tolkien and always going back. So I
Yeah.
love the experience of that.
Yep.
That's great. And like you said, I mean, we get that all the time. Every time we're, going back to these chapters, we always discover something new. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Exactly.
Every time. Well, which is your favorite book in the Legendarium and why? And if you have one, what's your favorite non-Legendarium work?
My favorite legendarium work, it would have to be Silmarillion. I just
Mm,
love the origins of
yeah.
things,
Oh yeah.
especially like the origins of the universe and how the Vala came to be. Like just in our own world, we have religion, we have like Catholicism, Hinduism, and there's always people studying these religions, just finding out where it came from and just deep diving into that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
so I
Hmm.
love the Silmarillion, just the story, even though how sad that they all are, is just the origin of
Yeah.
everything, from the origin of how Melkor became Morgoth, how you
Yeah.
know how why is it called the non-dying lands, or like Beleriand, what happened to it? Because when you look at a map of Middle Earth in the Third Age, like how
Mhm.
come it's so much different? Then you go back, all those answers are in the Silmarillion,
Yes, they
and
are.
so that's why I always go back. It's a hard read at first. The first time I read the Silmarillion, I was
Mhm.
like, oh my god, and especially like the one with all the lands of Beleriand, the Lays of Beleriand, it was just, oh my god. Like, honestly, that's one chapter I haven't read from like start that one to end, because there's too much in that one. But yeah, just Silmarillion hands down. And as for non-legendarium, like the things that not non-legendarium is well, actually, I haven't read anything with them. I'm more of just
Okay.
a legendarium guy.
There you
So
go.
the only experience I have with this non-legendarium stuff is what I overheard you guys talking about on
Oh,
the
okay.
podcast. So that's all I have to go on. So Leaf by Niggle, it sounds very interesting. The leaves are so detailed, like that whole story. Tolkien was always trying to catch up with his work and could
Mhm.
never finish on time. So I love that whole concept. That's something I'd like to do. But honestly,
Yeah.
I probably won't read one of them until maybe that one season where you guys are actually going to be doing your season on those books, to be
All right
honest.
then. All right.
Well, we'll get to it as soon as we can.
Yes, we will.
All right, Dan. Now I want to know, have you ever given a pet or a child a name inspired by Tolkien?
Actually, we have. I am a proud father of twins. I have one boy and one girl, and my daughter name is Rosie. So I named her
Aw.
named after Rosie Cotton. So I hold her, and I'm like, my little Rosie Cotton. You're gonna find your Samwise Gamgee.
Aw.
Aw.
so so that's kind of when I'm trying to put her to sleep, or just when she's looking at me, I'm like, my little Rosie. And so I always think of that. So I love the name when I first thought of it,
Too
and
cute.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's very cute. And so I'm like, all right, you're gonna
Yeah.
grow up and find a nice man like how Samwise is, someone courageous like that who will just put his life down for you without questions asked.
I love
So
that.
yeah, little Rosie Cotton.
That's sweet. That is really sweet. Well, now for my favorite part of our North Wing guest segments, a lightning round of quick questions and answers, or at least hypothetically quick questions and answers. Favorite scene or moment in the Legendarium?
Oh. My favorite moment, always going to go back to Silmarillion, I'm thinking. And so my favorite thing is just the Ainulindale, just that
Mm.
whole concept of like the Valar being created and branching off and doing their own little things in that, and this backstory of Melkor. Like that would be my favorite scene. I just thinking of like when I first read Silmarillion, the music of the Ainur sounded like trumpets, and it goes through that whole thing. When I first read it, I thought that they're actually holding instruments, like playing some kind of symphony. So, but now I know it's metaphorically, whatever. But
Right.
that would be my favorite scene. Is just at the very beginning. Like I love the origin of things. So for me, it's like the beginning of the whole universe, the whole concept of Ea and all that. That's like where I go to for my favorite.
That's great. I love it. What about your favorite dwarf?
Well, my favorite dwarf won't be the petty dwarves, but I'm gonna have to go with.
Nobody ever says meme on that one. Yeah. That is
No,
true.
they don't. Well, yeah, I have to go with Gimli because he's the one
Yeah.
that we get to know really well. So I have to go with Gimli.
That's fair.
Fair one.
Do you consider yourself more of a Merry or a Pippin?
Definitely a Pippin. I sometimes I act before I think. That happens a lot, and it just seems like Mary would be more like me, where all right, want to steal some fireworks from this big tall wizard guy, light them off, I'll be right there. Yeah, let's do it, Pippin. Let's go. Let's steal the whole thing. Let's just light them all up, Like me and him would be like, we'd be in prison. We'd be in Mickle Delving, in that prison with Saruman and everything, like. So yeah, definitely a Pippin.
All
Down
right.
in the lock holes. Well, just don't take any crystal balls from anybody, all right?
No.
Try not to.
Who's your favorite Tolkien artist or your favorite work of Tolkien art?
It would have to be Naismith. I want to say that. That's
Yeah.
yeah. So he's definitely like one of my favorites. Just like him and John Howell. Like I would have to say it kind of equal. Like I love looking at both their works. They're my top two. I would just go into if I wanted to see some kind of scene in Middle Earth. I would Google their names with the scene, and hopefully there's some kind of drawing of it. And that's where they're my two favorite artists. I don't have like a favorite piece, I guess, because they're all it's like, oh, what child do you love more?
Sure.
They're all their own little masterpieces. I just love them all.
Fair enough. Well, said only as a father of twins can say it.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite author or a favorite book other than Tolkien?
I do. I like Graham Hancock. And one of his famous works that got him famous in the mid-90s was Fingerprints of the Gods. In a nutshell, it's just about how a theory of ancient civilizations here on Earth came about before the Ice Age. Like the pyramids, they say it's about 3,000 years old, when there's evidence that could be far older. Like water erosion on the Sphinx clearly is on there, but it's like that whole little thing. So Graham Hancock, yeah, because I love history, so that's one of my things.
Interesting.
Well, great answers, Dan. We really appreciate you being here, so thank you very much. And while we have enjoyed having you here in the North Wing, it is time for us all to head back into the common room to join the rest of the listeners.
All right, thank you for having me, and take it easy, everyone in the PPP community. Love you all, and keep on listening.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks again, Dan, and hopefully we'll see you back at Questions After Nightfall sometime soon.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
And folks, now we return you to the podcast in progress. All right. Well, those are always fun. And Dan's in particular, I have to say, we might have to give him a primer on what lightning round means if he ever comes back on the show.
Yeah.
Just playing with you, Dan.
Obviously been listening to us too much.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I blame us mostly.
Yeah.
Well, I've got you starting my favorite chapter in this book, and that's chapter 5, The Window on the West. I'm going to let you open us up.
All right. Well, thank you for that. It seemed to Sam that he had only dozed for a few minutes when he awoke to find that it was late afternoon, and Faramir had come back. He had brought many men with him. Indeed, all the survivors of the foray were now gathered on the slope nearby, 200 or 300 strong. They sat in a wide semicircle, between the arms of which Faramir was seated on the ground, while Frodo stood before him. It looked strangely like the trial of a prisoner. Sam crept out from the fern, but no one paid any attention to him, and he placed himself at the end of the rows of men, where he could see and hear all that was going on. He watched and listened intently, ready to dash to his master's aid if needed. He could see Faramir's face, which was now unmasked. It was stern and commanding, and a keen wit lay behind his searching glance. Doubt was in the gray eyes that gazed steadily at Frodo.
Yeah, I'm not sure he believes him yet. May
No,
take some time.
I don't think so. Not quite.
So, kind of going back to the beginning of the chapter here, as he said when the last chapter ended, Sam really did need a nap. And
Yeah.
here it is. He wakes up, it's late afternoon, so clearly a decent chunk of time has gone by.
Yeah, recall Mablung said in the last chapter that the regiment of Southrons was due sometime ere noon.
Right.
The battle didn't seem to last particularly long, and now it's
No.
late afternoon, so a good bit of time has gone by.
Yeah, indeed. Now, this is going to come into play again later, so folks, just remember the time of day. So now we've got the survivors gathered with Faramir, and there's quite a few of them, 200 to 300 in number. But remember, if we're going off World War I experiences, which wouldn't surprise me if we were, the regiment of Southrons that they were facing was likely to be around 2,000 strong. So they outnumbered them at least 10 to 1, if not more. This was always going to be guerrilla style fighting, ambushes and, bows and arrows from the shadows and then drawing them off into traps.
Yeah, and you got to think Rangers would be really good at that, right?
Oh,
I mean, they're in their land, right? They know these lands.
Yeah. They're from here. Yeah.
They're from here, and the Haradrim are going to be, obviously from out of town.
Plus, they think they're in a good neighborhood, but they're really not.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So now all these men, these 200 to 300 men, are in a semicircle with Faramir seated in the middle. And this doesn't look good. Frodo is standing before him, and we're told this appears to be a trial. And
I love that. It looks strangely like the trial of a prisoner, probably because it's the trial of a prisoner.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And then poor Sam, nobody pays attention to him.
No, but the reader gets to stay with Sam while he goes and takes a seat at the end of one of these semicircles.
That's right. Now, even outnumbered like this, 200 to 1, 300 to 1, he is ready to dash to help Frodo. It's poor
brave.
Sam. Yeah.
It's brave, if a bit unrealistic.
I was going to say brave, but naive. What's the word I'm thinking of, or the phrase I'm thinking of from Top Gear? Ambitious, but rubbish.
There you go.
That's a little bit what I'm thinking.
Yep.
And we also see, though, how Sam perceives Faramir, right? Stern, commanding, with a keen wit, and, as you said at the end, doubtful towards Frodo.
Yeah. And, trial of a prisoner, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is, we're going to verify what he's claiming here. And Sam gradually figures out exactly what it is that Faramir's doubting here, right? The reasons that Faramir has this doubt. I mean, specifically, he's not satisfied with Frodo's explanation of his role in the company.
Right.
Nor with why he left Boromir and where he's going now. Kind of all the important points.
All the important bits for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And, finally, Faramir could tell that Frodo was hiding something very important.
Yeah. Which he is. Let's be honest. I mean, we know that as the readers, but Faramir is very perceptive, as we'll see, and he can see right through Frodo in this particular matter. Yeah. Well, before we get back to the discussion, we want to make sure you know that when you finish listening to this episode, the talk continues all night long at the Prancing Pony Podcast.
That's right. Our awesome listener community keeps the conversation going in all of our social media spaces, from our common room on Facebook to our Reddit community, Twitter, and more.
And on Facebook, just look for the Prancing Pony Podcast and be sure to follow the page, but also join the group for some great discussions.
And you can find us on Reddit at r/PrancingPonyPod. And we're also at Prancing Pony Pod on Twitter and Instagram. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and get back to the text, and we're going to see what the matter of great importance is that Faramir thinks Frodo's hiding.
Indeed we will. But it was at the coming of the halfling that Isildur's bane should waken, or so one must read the words, he insisted. If then you are the halfling that was named, doubtless you brought this thing, whatever it may be, to the council of which you speak, and there Boromir saw it. Do you deny it? Frodo made no answer. So, said Faramir, I wish then to learn from you more of it, for what concerns Boromir concerns me. An orc arrow slew Isildur, so far as old tales tell. But orc arrows are plenty, and the sight of one would not be taken as a sign of doom by Boromir of Gondor. Had you this thing in keeping? It is hidden, you say, but is not that because you choose to hide it? No, not because I choose, answered Frodo. It does not belong to me. It does not belong to any mortal, great or small. Though if any could claim it, it would be Aragorn, son of Arathorn, whom I named, the leader of our company from Moria to Rauros. Why so, and not Boromir, prince of the city that the sons of Elendil founded? Because Aragorn is descended in direct lineage, father to father, from Isildur, Elendil's son himself, and the sword that he bears was Elendil's sword. Well, that's a bomb he just dropped. What now?
You didn't mention that part.
That's a pretty important bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go back to the beginning of that section, huh?
Indeed, let's. And right away, we see that Faramir is a really smart dude. I mean, the prophecy, which, I mean, come on, who's going to make sense of this prophecy? Faramir is. That's who is.
That's right. Faramir makes sense of just about anything. Yeah.
This is the guy you want on your team in like an escape room or something, because he's going to figure out all the clues.
Mm-hmm.
And he just picks apart the words of the prophecy.
Oh, yeah.
With absolute clarity. Your coming, you're this halfling.
Yeah.
Your coming is supposed to awaken Isildur's bane. And if you're the halfling in the prophecy, which you just told me you were, then,
using your words against you, that's right.
Yeah. Then you must have brought this Isildur's bane to the Council of Elrond.
The Council of Elrond. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Frodo hadn't mentioned the council previously in the last chapter. So I have to imagine that's part of the trial that Sam missed while he was napping. So
it must be. Yeah.
And it makes sense. I don't think there's any secret that the council took place.
Right.
It's just that Faramir didn't know it was going to happen. Boromir didn't know it was going to happen. He just went to him to get some advice. Yeah, and lo and behold, there's a council. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I think that's exactly it. They must have discussed it before. Yeah. And Sam just missed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Faramir presses Frodo, right?
Oh, yes, he does. That's right. Yeah. Frodo, of course, neither confirms nor denies. He refers all questions to his press contact. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Faramir wants to know more. After all, if Boromir was concerned enough about this prophecy to travel all the way to Rivendell to get some advice, then I'm concerned too. What concerns Boromir concerns me. Yeah.
That's right. And then he makes a guess as to what this Isildur's bane might be.
Yeah, a decent one, but yeah.
It's a decent one, but then he shoots the idea down himself.
Yeah.
He says, well, an orc arrow, well, that's the obvious bane of Isildur because that's what he was killed by. But
right.
An orc arrow is too common. There's literally thousands of them in the battlefield all the time, right?
And some of them in Boromir, actually.
Oh,
too soon.
Too soon.
Sorry.
And Frodo doesn't know that yet.
No, he does not. That's fair.
but I mean, the point, they're so common that's not, Isildur's bane, capital I, capital B. That's not going to be a thing that fulfills a prophecy, and Boromir wouldn't have seen it as such.
That's a very good point. I mean, if we're talking about common, rare, epic, and legendary, the bane is legendary, right? And orc arrows are common.
The vendor's giving you like 9 copper pieces for an orc arrow, if that.
Yeah.
This is not.
And you can't even buy an Isildur's bane. You've got to barter it with like rep tokens from the hardest zone you can. Yeah.
Right.
So, Faramir returns to Frodo. He says, look, did you have this bane in your possession? I mean, earlier you told me it was hidden, but isn't it hidden because you've hidden it? Faramir would make a great attorney, I have to tell you.
He absolutely would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wizard's pupils.
Boy, you're not kidding.
They're the best attorneys.
You said wizard's pupils, and all I'm imagining are the little openings in his eyes. Are they dilated or not? I'm thinking pupil singular, and I think student, but I don't know why pupils plural makes me think of that. I don't know.
Well, probably because you hear it in the plural a lot in reference to eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
point. But, he would also make a good counselor because on this line of questioning, Frodo begins to open up here, right?
He does.
Mm-hmm. Instead of remaining silent, he actually starts responding, and he responds as honestly as he can without coming right out and spelling everything out.
Yeah.
It's like, look, it's not because I choose to keep it hidden. Keeping it hidden is not my choice.
Right.
It's not mine to decide.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong to me.
No. In fact, nobody could claim it, but then he goes maybe a step too far here and says, except for that Aragorn fellow that I talked about, the guy who led the company, even though there's a Boromir here, led the company after Gandalf's fall. And then this allegation that Aragorn would have the right to claim it, but no one else, that's going to get Faramir's attention, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's going to get Faramir's attention. Okay, why this guy, this Aragorn fellow, and not, I don't know, maybe the commander-in-chief of
The
Minas
5-star
Tirith.
general of Gondor. Yeah.
Right, yeah. The captain general, I believe, was the title.
Yeah, Captain General.
And not only that, but he's also, the steward heir in waiting of Gondor. Yeah. He should be the most senior person in any company he's in.
Oh, of
As
course.
Faramir sees it.
Yeah. Rightfully so, if he doesn't know who Aragorn is. Yeah.
Right. And then Frodo drops the bombshell.
Yeah.
And this really, really shocks the Rangers. But look, Aragorn is Isildur's descendant.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, his sword is Sword of Elendil.
It's the one now. Clearly, Faramir's men are thrilled beyond words. They are just, he's going to tell. He's going to tell. He's going to tell. I mean, they are entirely thrilled. The Sword of Elendil is back. This is incredible news. They are seriously excited, but Faramir, and this isn't the last time we'll see him like this, is basically unmoved.
He's stone cold.
He's just stoic, isn't he?
Yeah.
We'll see that throughout. He's hard to shake. Yeah.
He is. He's unflappable, I think is a good word for him.
I
know we're going to be
word.
talking more about him in a bit.
Yeah. He's even keeled. He's not quick to respond emotionally in any way.
Yeah.
Which I think actually reveals just how moved he is by Eowyn later, but we won't get to that for another season.
Ooh, that's a
couple
good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. But Faramir has, some thoughts on this idea, doesn't he? And I'm going to have you pick up there.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah. There are a few provisos, a couple of quid pro quos. And he's about to lay them out
Aladdin.
Right now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Number one, I can't make anybody fall in love with you. That's not it.
Yeah. That's not it.
No.
All right. Maybe, he said. But so great a claim will need to be established, and clear proofs will be required, should this Aragorn ever come to Minas Tirith. He had not come, nor any of your company, when I set out 6 days ago. Boromir was satisfied of that claim, said Frodo. Indeed, if Boromir were here, he would answer all your questions. And since he was already at Rauros many days back, and intended then to go straight to your city, if you return, you may soon learn the answers there. My part in the company was known to him as to all the others, for it was appointed to me by Elrond of Imladris himself before the whole council. On that errand I came into this country, but it is not mine to reveal to any outside the company. Yet those who claim to oppose the enemy would do well not to hinder it. Frodo's tone was proud, whatever he felt, and Sam approved of it, but it did not appease Faramir. So, he said, you bid me mind my own affairs and get me back home, and let you be. Boromir will tell all when he comes. When he comes, say you? Were you a friend of Boromir?
Well, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Now that you ask.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. You're not kidding. It's not me. It's him, actually.
Yeah.
No, we'll get to that in a bit. Going back to the beginning of the passage you read, I have to say, Faramir's response, I love it. He says maybe. His response is not immediately or completely dismissive as one might expect. Keep in mind, the line of the stewards has ruled Gondor since Third Age 2050. It is now 3019. That is 969 years since there's been a king. That would be, that would be like England's last king ruling before the Norman invasion of 1066. So just pretend that William I was the first ruling steward of England. And now we have a claimed descendant of Edward the Confessor trying to take the throne. You can understand the doubt given the time frame, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah. You really can. Wow, that's a really
long
good
time.
Bit of perspective there. And yet he doesn't just like completely laugh it off.
No.
He isn't, like you said, he doesn't dismiss it out of hand.
Right.
He doesn't laugh it off, but he also doesn't, like cheer like the men do, right?
Right.
He just,
he's
completely even keel. He just
takes that middle ground and is like, well,
all right,
I guess
maybe.
we'll see. Yeah.
Maybe. But proof will be required.
Yes.
If he ever comes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. If he ever shows up, right.
Yeah, because he wasn't there when I left 6 days ago.
That's right. And 6 days ago was March 1st, and that would be the day that Aragorn was catching up with Gandalf the White in Fangorn. So kind of timeline stuff.
That feels like so much longer ago.
Doesn't it? I mean, that felt like at least a year ago.
I know, man. I know.
But
Frodo, he's really he's really leaning into this a bit here.
Yeah.
He's getting more assertive. We're going to see this towards the end of this paragraph too. But, he starts by saying, look, Boromir was already satisfied by Aragorn's claim. And this is interesting, isn't it?
It is. I have to question that just a little bit. I mean, is this really true, or is Frodo stretching it a touch? Boromir, we know, was skeptical at the council. Aragorn asks, Boromir, do you want the House of Elendil to return to Gondor? Boromir doesn't say Gondor has no king, Gondor needs no king. That's a great movie line, isn't what he says in the books.
It is, yep.
He says, I was not sent to beg any boon, but to seek only the meaning of a riddle, answered Boromir proudly. Yet we are hard-pressed, and the sword of Elendil would be a help beyond our hope, if such a thing could indeed return out of the shadows of the past. He looked again at Aragorn, and doubt was in his eyes.
That's interesting. It's definitely skeptical. It's not...
Very.
It's, again, not completely laughing it off, but it's more skeptical than even, if Faramir is at 0, Boromir's at -5 on a scale of negative, 10,
-10 to +10, and the Rangers of Ithilien are like a 9 right now.
Right.
And Faramir's at a 0 saying, just chill, guys. Boromir's
exactly.
like -5, yeah.
Right. And later on, after both Elrond and Gandalf refuse the ring at the council, we read that Boromir looked at them doubtfully, but he bowed his head. So be it, he said. Then in Gondor we must trust to such weapons as we have, and at the least, while the wise ones guard this ring, we will fight on. Mayhap the sword that was broken may still stem the tide, if the hand that wields it has inherited not an heirloom only, but the sinews of the kings of men.
So again, real skepticism, cynicism here. At least skepticism, maybe
really,
not cynicism.
A challenge to Aragorn.
Very much so. Yeah. This is like, fine, even if I buy that that's the sword, why should I buy that you can wield it?
Right.
Now, after that, there aren't any real moments of tension between them, right? Boromir seems to accept Gandalf's leadership and Aragorn's role as second in command. And we see that mostly on the Peak of Caradhras. But after Gandalf falls in Moria, there is a moment of struggle for sure. Aragorn is leading the way into the woods of Lorien, and we read this. Aragorn stepped forward, but Boromir stood irresolute and did not follow. Is there no other way? He said. What other fairer way would you desire? Said Aragorn. A plain road, though it led through a hedge of swords, said Boromir. By strange paths has this company been led, and so far to evil fortune. Against my will we passed under the shades of Moria, to our loss. And now we must enter the Golden Wood, you say. Now, after some discussion, Boromir does eventually say, then lead on. But at that moment, I have to say it seems to be acceptance that Aragorn is the leader of the company in Gandalf's absence. It has nothing to do with Aragorn's claim to be his king.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's not really accepting Aragorn's claim, as we're saying here.
No, this is just, okay, fine. You're the leader of the group right now.
Yeah, for now. Now then later on, when the company are discussing their plans as they leave Lorien, Boromir makes it clear that he will go to Minas Tirith alone if he has to, and he doesn't say anything about Aragorn.
No, you're right.
And then again, when discussing their next actions, we read, Boromir held out long against this choice, but when it became plain that Frodo would follow Aragorn wherever he went, he gave in. It is not the way of the men of Minas Tirith to desert their friends at need, he said, and you will need my strength if ever you are to reach the Tindrock. To the Tall Isle I will go, but no further. There I shall turn to my home, alone if my help has not earned the reward of any companionship. Not exactly a glowing endorsement of Aragorn's kingship.
No,
if you ask me.
He doesn't say something like, well, I'm going to go back to Minas Tirith with the guy who's the king.
Right.
He doesn't say anything about that. In fact, while Boromir appears to reluctantly accept Aragorn's role as leader of the company post-Moria, I got to say there's not a moment in the text, at least, where he appears to accept Aragorn's claim of kingship until maybe, and I'm kind of fudging this a little bit, right before his death. But even then, I think we're having to read into it, right? I mean, yeah, he confesses to Aragorn as you would to your king, but he doesn't call him that, right?
That's true.
He certainly doesn't say, I would have followed you, my captain, my king, like the movies do, which
no, we do not
makes me cry every time.
Every single time.
But there's still none of that, sadly. And he does apologize, but even at the very end, his last words, go to Minas Tirith and save my people.
Right.
Say our people or your
Again,
people.
unlike the movie where he says our people, Yeah.
So I've got to say, I'm not convinced entirely that Boromir ever really did accept Aragorn's claim to kingship.
Doesn't seem like it. No.
I mean, at least we don't have evidence that says he does. It is
Right.
very possible that he did, but I have to say
Maybe.
there's just no evidence that says he did.
We just don't, we didn't see it in the book.
That's correct.
So back to Frodo. He understandably, obliviously suggests that Boromir might already be back at Minas Tirith. He was at Rauros back on February 26th. It's now March 7th. That's 11 days later. He probably should have gotten
he's
there by
long
now.
past Minas Tirith by now. He's out in the middle of the Great Sea.
Aw, still too soon.
Hope he's got some sunscreen on.
I'm sure he's looking very pale, actually.
I'm sure he is. Frodo goes into more detail about his own role in the company, right? The errand that he's on. And he says to Faramir, look, Boromir knew what it was. It was given to me by Elrond in front of everybody. So that's part of the deal. If you talk to Boromir, he'll know.
Right. That's right. And that errand is why I'm here, but I'm not at liberty to reveal that reason to anyone.
Right. That's what he says. Now, I have to say, once again, it seems like that bit isn't exactly accurate unless the command was given to him, off screen, as it were. If we go back to the charge that he was given by Elrond, it was this: on him alone is any charge laid, neither to cast away the ring, nor to deliver it to any servant of the enemy, nor indeed to let any handle it, save members of the company and the council, and only then in gravest need.
So there's nothing in that contractual provision about don't reveal to anyone.
This isn't an NDA. You don't have to. Yeah.
But no, and that's absolutely true. I think this is Frodo using his own judgment.
I think so too. I know. I mean, I'm kind of poking a little bit of a hole in his argument, but
I think maybe he's probably trying to rely on Elrond's authority. Say, Elrond told me not to tell anybody.
That's right.
Even though
it's not exactly what he said. Yeah.
Exactly. Frodo is trusting to his own judgment here. He knows that the best thing to do right now is to keep it secret, keep it safe.
There you go. He's got Gandalf's words still ringing in his head, keep it secret, keep it safe. And while Sam approves of Frodo's resolute pride, and I love this, we'll get to this in a moment, in keeping this information safe, that doesn't exactly impress Faramir, does it?
No, it doesn't. And again, you said he would make a great attorney. And
he really would.
This is a classic attorney thing here. He keeps this relevant fact in his pocket while asking Frodo suspiciously, were you a friend of Boromir?
Yeah, I just want to know. He's got the Perry Mason moment ready to go, though.
He totally does. He totally does.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, what do you make of Frodo's pride here? Is this is this a good pride moment, or is this a bad pride moment? Or is he just kind of like fronting a little bit? Is he just kind of like, puffing his chest up?
I think there's a little bit of that. There's it's a way for him to sort of project a sense of confidence and a sense of importance, right? I am on this important mission. I mean, I really am on this important mission, actually.
Really
this is not me being prideful. I mean, but this is the world's most important mission right now. Nobody is doing anything more important than what I'm doing.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
I mean, it really is true. So, sometimes it's okay to be proud.
I think so. And I think it's interesting that the narrator tells us that Frodo's tone was proud, whatever he felt.
Yes, I think you're right. I think that speaks to its projection.
Yeah, I don't think he's really feeling this pride, this haughtiness that he's putting on. I think he's just trying to communicate with Faramir on his own level. I mean,
exactly. He's matching a tone. He senses that this is an interrogation. This isn't a friendly conversation. He knows that he's fencing, if you will, with somebody who, who's coming at him with these little, he's trying to get him with the sword, and Frodo's just trying to fend him off. And I think that the tone is one way for him to do that. Or at least he thinks so. Hopes that that'll be effective.
Maybe he thinks it'll kind of, catch him off guard. Faramir doesn't expect that this little hobbit is going to come back in this haughty tone.
Just wait until another hobbit does something soon. He won't expect that either.
But I also think it's interesting because, think of the men that Frodo's encountered before now. I mean, he's, encountered like Brelanders and stuff like that. But, the men that he spent a whole lot of time with really would be Aragorn and Boromir, both of whom can be haughty, both of whom can speak with this pride when they want to, and with good reason. Absolutely. And so I think he's just kind of like, he's adopting sort of a mannish way of speaking to kind of engage with Faramir.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it too. You're right. Kind of speaking to Faramir on his own terms, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, with that, we are going to get back to the text, and I'm going to let you read right from where I left off.
All right. Sounds good. So Faramir has just asked Frodo if he was a friend of Boromir's. Vividly before Frodo's mind came the memory of Boromir's assault upon him, and for a moment he hesitated. Faramir's eyes watching him grew harder. "Boromir was a valiant member of our company," said Frodo at length. "Yes, I was his friend, for my part." Faramir smiled grimly. "Then you would grieve to learn that Boromir is dead." "I would grieve indeed," said Frodo. Then, catching the look in Faramir's eyes, he faltered. "Dead?" he said. "Do you mean that he is dead, and that you knew it? You have been trying to trap me in words, playing with me? Or are you now trying to snare me with a falsehood?" "I would not snare even an orc with a falsehood," said Faramir. And we're going to stop right there. I know it's a short reading, but
That's a good place to stop, though. There's a lot there.
yeah, there really is.
All right. So, yeah, the question, were you a friend of Boromir? Understandably, makes Frodo start remembering. He has this flashback of Boromir's assault. And he hesitates. Dude, I don't know. Was I his friend or not?
That's a very good question. If we eliminate the last hour or so, yeah,
right,
probably.
Maybe we were, but that last hour was a little rough.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah.
And this hesitation, again, Faramir, so perceptive. I mean,
I know.
He just picks up on this hesitation, and his eyes grew harder. He seems to grow more doubtful.
I agree.
Understandably. You ask what's a fairly
simple question.
I mean, if somebody asked me, was I friends with so-and-so, I can probably answer that question pretty quickly.
Yeah, there are very few people that I'm going to have to scratch my head and go, well,
most people
depends.
Like, yeah, they're my friend. No, not really. Or we got along, didn't know them that well. You know, there's a few really simple answers that you can give.
Yeah.
The hesitation is going to cause doubt.
It always does. All I can hear is Olaf. He hesitated. Oh man, sorry.
Yep.
Clearly kids. All right.
And Frodo does he kind of diverts a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because instead of answering the question, he starts to speak well of Boromir.
That's right.
Well, he was a valiant member of our company, and you know, he was a great guy, you know.
Everybody knew how strong he was.
Right. And then he kind of comes around, not entirely convincingly, to, I was his friend for my part.
For my part, which speaks volumes.
Is quite it really does.
It's
quite
a huge qualifier,
there.
Isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
So Faramir sort of breaks the news. Frodo doesn't catch it right away, but Faramir breaks the news by asking if Frodo would grieve were he to find out that Boromir had died. And Frodo, of course, would grieve and says that immediately. That there's no hesitation there, at least.
Because that's the kind of thing you say to somebody, like, were you their friend? Sure, I was their friend. Oh, would you be sad if they were dead? Well, of course I'd be sad if they were dead.
I know. What do you expect? Nah, man, kind of not.
There's a very short list of people that I would be happy that they're dead.
Very few people that I would not grieve their loss. It's true.
Right.
And every single one of them, I would be able to answer the question, no, I am not their friend.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, of course, he's going to grieve. Right.
Of course he's going to grieve. But at first, again, he's thinking this is just sort of a hypothetical question. And then he sees this look in Faramir's face.
Yeah.
And he begins to realize, oh, I've just been given some information.
That's right.
And then he starts asking questions. Wait a minute. Do you mean that he is dead and that you've known this all along?
Yeah.
Or do you mean that he's alive and you're trying to catch me out with a lie?
And those really are the only two options, aren't there? I mean, either Boromir is alive or he is dead.
Right.
And either Faramir knows one or the other.
Right.
And so it's either the truth or a lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either he's dead and Faramir knows it, or he's alive and trying to catch Frodo in a lie.
Right.
Then we get one of my absolute favorite lines in the Legendarium. It's a blink and you miss it moment.
It's a good one.
Faramir claims he wouldn't snare even an orc with a falsehood. And I think that is a good point to take a very quick sidebar here. We're going to have lots of sidebars about Faramir, I'm sure. But for now, we're just going to talk about Faramir and his quality. Because as we talk later, you know, the opportunity for Faramir of Gondor to show his quality. Indeed. So I want to start with a really great comment from Tolkien in letter number 244. Now, this was a draft of a letter to a reader who had criticized the relationship between Éowyn and Faramir. So we're going to come back to the letter in full in a couple of years when our favorite characters fall in love. But for now, I want to quote this passage about Faramir that Tolkien writes. After talking about how he was daunted by his father and had a rather bossy brother, which is undoubtedly true, he says that Faramir, quote, had been accustomed to giving way and not giving his own opinions air, while retaining a power of command among men, such as a man may obtain who is evidently personally courageous and decisive, but also modest, fair-minded, and scrupulously just, and very merciful, end quote. I gotta say, that is quite a list of character traits. Yeah.
It is. And, Tolkien mentions this in the relationship to, Faramir's command over his men. And I'm thinking, like, isn't this exactly the kind of leader that we all want to follow?
Yes. How could you not follow a man like this? Right.
Right. How could you not? And how could you not love a man like this and love following a man like this? I mean, this is a leader of men.
Yes, it is.
Not just a captain. This is not just a prince. This is a man who is a leader. And I get a bit of you almost imagine he's probably, kind of like a servant leader, the kind of guy who really supports his men, who really just thinks of himself as one of the guys.
Yeah, he gets down and does the same tasks they do. I'm sure he does not, sit back and wait for his servants to clean his boots,
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly, yeah. Now, there's also a description of him in Hammond and Skull's Reader's Companion from Hammond and Skull themselves, which I also love because it really mirrors my thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
They call him one of the most fully rounded and sympathetic characters. Perceptive, merciful, brave, responsible, restrained, aware of his position, but neither boastful nor arrogant, choosing to do what he feels to be right, even if it may be to his disadvantage.
Wow. That really is a great set of descriptions for him.
It really is. And the fully rounded part, I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Because in some ways, Faramir comes across as a bit more modern than some of the other characters.
Yeah.
Aragorn is somebody out of a myth.
Yeah.
Aragorn is he belongs in this world. He belongs in, the third age of men a long, long time ago. Mm-hmm. Faramir seems like somebody that you could know, doesn't he?
You're right. He does seem a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
But yeah, his character traits are so, they're enviable, right? I mean, we should all, seek to possess these characteristics. He's a guy that you can look up to and admire in a way like, I want to be like him.
Right, yeah.
More than Aragorn, because Aragorn's characteristics are, he's a king.
He's too remote. Yeah, he's too remote. Yeah. He's this mythical, this mythical king, child of this long lineage of kings and elves and Maiar, and Aragorn is superhuman.
He really is.
Faramir is very human, but a great
human. But the best kind of human that you can be.
Yeah. And I just love his complete, you said earlier, stoic. I love his stoicism. It kind of reminds me of, I've read a little bit of Marcus Aurelius, and it's, he was like sort of one of the classic stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor. And it's a bit like that, it's just like even keel, just sort of.
Very even keeled. You said unflappable, which I thought is a great word. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's unflappable. He's almost like this, I don't know, this warrior, poet, philosopher kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, there is far more to him than just being a warrior.
Yeah.
You're right. And we see some of that next week when he talks about how he was taught, how he was given lessons in certain things. And I think that's going to be key. We'll get to that next week. But in the meantime, it's clear, I think we can just see very, very obviously that Tolkien puts Faramir and sees Faramir in a very good light. And interestingly, he sees a little of himself in Faramir. So in letter 180, in a passage where he admits that he comes off sounding a bit like Gandalf and then says, but I'm not Gandalf.
Right.
There's a footnote that reads, as far as any character is like me, it is Faramir, except that I lack what all my characters possess. Let the psychoanalysts note, courage. I love that.
Courage.
The cowardly lion.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that little self-reflective moment from Tolkien in his letter.
It really is neat.
Yeah, and he
ties Faramir to himself quite closely, as we'll see later on.
He does.
With the dream. Mm-hmm.
He does, and I think the reason that we see Faramir as, we're talking about like the best kind of person, is I think because that's kind of how Tolkien wrote him. He was a bit like himself, and I like to think that Professor Tolkien had a
Mhm.
a reasonably high opinion of himself. I hope he had high self-esteem.
Humble, but aware. I mean, you look back at this list of characteristics about Faramir, right?
Right.
What's the line? Aware of his position, but neither boastful nor arrogant.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he knew. Yeah.
Yeah. Humble, but
Yeah.
secure. But
Yes.
Faramir's got this other thing that Tolkien himself recognizes that he doesn't have, which is courage.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I love it.
And indeed he is. I mean, remember last episode where he says to Frodo and Sam, if I come back, I mean, we're going to take on the Southrons. And just in that statement, he's flat out acknowledging I might die. I'm about to go to this battle.
Right.
And he has a ton of courage, as we'll see in many other circumstances going forward.
Yeah. And, while we're talking about some of Faramir's virtues, very relevant to this passage right here,
Mhm.
he's very clever. He's a very good debater, right?
Oh, he is. Yeah.
And he's very careful with his information. He's very smart about revealing what he knows at the appropriate time and not sooner.
That's right.
But though he may sort of ration out information the way he needs to, he draws a very clear and bright line between lying and telling the truth.
Yes, he does.
And we see that here. He says, I would not snare even an orc with a falsehood. I would not even lie to an orc.
Yep.
And later on, we'll see that he even says, we are truth speakers, we men of Gondor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, later in this chapter, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
This is something that he values very highly.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about him.
It really does. Well, back to the text, and we'll have, I'm sure, multiple sidebars on Faramir going forward.
I'm sure.
This claim that he wouldn't even lie to an orc, it leads Frodo to ask, in the passage after I finished reading, how Boromir died and how Faramir knew, since nobody from the company had reached Minas Tirith as of Faramir's departure. And, Faramir had, of course, hoped that Frodo would know. And that's when Frodo tells him, well, Boromir was alive and well when we split. And that's when we get Faramir's closing line in that section that suggests the possibility of treachery. And that triggers something in Sam. And that's where I'm going to have you pick up the paragraph later.
Yeah. He's going to give him a piece of his mind for sure.
Yes, he will. All of it, I think, actually. Every last piece. Yeah.
All right. See here, Captain. He planted himself squarely in front of Faramir, his hands on his hips, and a look on his face as if he was addressing a young hobbit who had offered him what he called sauce when questioned about visits to the orchard. There was some murmuring, but also some grins on the faces of the men looking on. The sight of their captain sitting on the ground and eye to eye with a young hobbit, legs well apart, bristling with wrath, was one beyond their experience. See here, he said. What are you driving at? Let's come to the point before all the orcs of Mordor come down on us. If you think my master murdered this Boromir and then ran away, you've got no sense, but say it and have done. And then let us know what you mean to do about it. But it's a pity that folk as talk about fighting the enemy can't let others do their bit in their own way without interfering. He'd be mighty pleased if he could see you now. Think he'd got a new friend, he would. Patience, said Faramir, but without anger. Do not speak before your master, whose wit is greater than yours, and I do not need any to teach me of our peril. Even so, I spare a brief time in order to judge justly in a hard matter. Were I as hasty as you, I might have slain you long ago, for I am commanded to slay all whom I find in this land without the leave of the Lord of Gondor. But I do not slay man or beast needlessly, and not gladly, even when it is needed. Neither do I talk in vain. So be comforted. Sit by your master and be silent. Sam sat down heavily with a red face.
Oh, man. Oh, Sam, you have stepped in it, man.
This is so great.
Isn't
I love
it?
This.
It's such a moment.
I love this. But
it's great.
I know we got to go back and we got to
do.
cover some stuff that I didn't read first.
So we start with that last implied accusation of treachery, and that is just too much for Sam, right? He'd been getting angrier and angrier as this interrogation continues.
Yeah.
And so now he gets up. Again, I want to say this in front of 200 or 300 men. And he strides up to Frodo's side, and by striding, I mean stamps his feet.
He's making sure every one of those 200 to 300 men knows how he feels right now.
Darn right, before he says a word, yeah.
Before he says a word. And then, interesting, when he does speak, at first he's talking to Frodo.
Yeah.
He tells Frodo, not Faramir, this has gone on too long already.
Yeah.
And after all, you've gone through a lot, and for their benefit, the sacrifices that you're making.
For this lot. Yeah.
For this lot. These ungrateful buffoons don't appreciate it.
And then that's when he turns his anger straight at Faramir. And I got to say, it is a combination of total comedy and deadly seriousness.
It is. Absolutely.
Oh, man. The see here, Captain, and he talks to him like he would an impertinent young hobbit. I love that.
Who's giving him
the sauce? Sauce. I love it.
I love it. It's great.
Now, this gets a few giggles and grins from the Rangers who don't quite know what to make of this 3.5 foot tall ball of fury who's getting in the face of this guy that just led them against a force that's like 10 times their size with an elephant.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Oh, this is funny. This is so
great.
funny, but also serious.
But
Sam
also
is really
serious.
mad. Yeah.
Sam is mad. And we know Sam is the emotional core of this story.
That's right.
We are meant to have a reaction. Maybe not quite like this, but we're meant to have a reaction.
Well, we laugh at everything. I mean,
but we're meant to have this sort of outraged reaction to Faramir's distrust of Frodo, right? We know Frodo. We know Frodo is honest. We know Frodo is making sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
We, the reader, are meant to be outraged at Faramir's distrust.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
maybe not quite like this.
No, maybe not. No.
But I think we see in Sam something that we're feeling.
Yeah.
And he basically just comes right out and tells Faramir, look, just stop implying stuff, all right?
Get
you got an accusation to make.
Yeah.
Come out and make it. If you think Frodo killed Boromir, this Boromir.
This Boromir fellow. I love
whom I met and traveled with for many months.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
But if you think Frodo... Sorry.
That's all right. That is too funny. You're right. Murdered this Boromir. Like you don't know who he is, Sam? I mean, yeah.
But if you think Frodo killed Boromir and then ran off, just come right out and say it.
Yeah.
And then tell us what you're planning to do about it.
That's right. So what are you going to do about it if it's true? Yeah. And then he brings up the point, look, we should all be on the same side. He even accuses Faramir of interfering and saying, I love this. Saruman would be happy to see this. He'd think he had a new friend. Wow. Wow. That is a step too far, even for the ever patient Faramir, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, but he does not lose it.
Unflappable. Yeah.
He is unflappable. Without anger.
Yeah.
Advises patience. And honestly, this is really putting Sam in his place, but he does it so cool.
He does it at the beginning and at the end, but yes.
He does. That's true.
Yeah.
He does. And he does it so cool. He plays it so cool. Patience. And he reminds Sam that Frodo is wiser than he is, than Sam is. And he points out, look, I am well aware of the danger that we're in.
Oh, in fact, I know these orcs better than you know these orcs.
Exactly.
I promise you. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And then he acknowledges that he has to judge what to do here. This is his job, right? In fact, if I'd been in as big a hurry as you are, Sam, you'd already be dead. I would have killed you hours ago.
Yeah. And in fact, I am commanded to kill anyone that I find here who doesn't have my Lord's leave, who doesn't have Denethor's leave to be here.
That's absolutely right.
Which I have to point out, that's another bit of interesting context.
It is
reminding me of Éomer and Haldir. Remember that conversation we had before?
I do remember that.
Once again, we've got interlopers in a land they're not supposed to be in, and we've got a captain like Éomer who's taking a break, assessing the situation before reacting. I love it.
Yeah.
And that says so much about Faramir, just as it does with Éomer.
And then Faramir says exactly why he hasn't done anything yet, right? I don't slay man or beast gladly. And then it's another one of those character revealing moments. And I don't even do it needlessly. And I certainly don't do it gladly, even when it is needed.
Even when I need to. Yeah.
That's really powerful stuff. So he's trying to say to Sam, look, I probably should have killed you a while ago, but I haven't because that's not who I am as a person.
Yeah. I don't want to.
No,
I don't want to have to kill you.
No, but I will if I need to.
I will if I have to. That's the unspoken part of that. Yeah.
You first, Sam. No, he does tell Sam in this wonderfully kind and gentle way, sit down and shut up.
He does.
Yeah, sit
He
by
does.
your
He is
master and be silent. How
very-
better can you say it? Yeah.
Very kind, very gentle, but
Yeah.
very clear.
Yeah.
Sit down and be quiet. And Sam gets the point.
Oh, he
and
does.
he does so. And he's more than a little embarrassed about it.
Rightly so.
Red-faced. Of course,
Mhm.
Sam wears his emotions on his sleeve.
Yeah, he does tend to react before he reacts before he thinks, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
That's the emotional heart.
So a wonderful, wonderful exchange.
Mhm.
And we're not going to stop there. You're going to go ahead and pick up right there.
No, that's exactly where I'm going to pick up. And this, you think Frodo dropped a bombshell earlier. We're about to get Faramir's bombshell. This is his Perry Mason moment. Faramir turned to Frodo again. You asked how do I know that the son of Denethor is dead? Tidings of death have many wings. Night oft brings news to near kindred, 'tis said. Boromir was my brother. A shadow of sorrow passed over his face. Do you remember aught of special mark that the Lord Boromir bore with him among his gear? Frodo thought for a moment, fearing some further trap, and wondering how this debate would turn in the end. He had hardly saved the ring from the proud grasp of Boromir, and how he would fare now among so many men, warlike and strong, he did not know. Yet he felt in his heart that Faramir, though he was much like his brother in looks, was a man less self-regarding, both sterner and wiser. I remember that Boromir bore a horn, he said at last. You remember well, and as one who has in truth seen him, said Faramir. Then maybe you can see it in your mind's eye, a great horn of the wild ox of the east, bound with silver and written with ancient characters. That horn the eldest son of our house has borne for many generations, and it is said that if it be blown at need anywhere within the bounds of Gondor, as the realm was of old, its voice will not pass unheeded.
All right.
Oh, man. Ooh.
Another
All right.
short reading you got there, but again, there's a lot to unpack.
There really is. We're going to spend some time here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So after putting Samwise in his place as gently but directly as he can, Faramir turns back to Frodo.
Yeah.
And then he finally answers that question that Frodo asked, right? How did he die? How do you know of it?
Yeah. How do you know he's dead?
How do you know he's dead? And Faramir answers this question by quoting a proverb. He says, night oft brings news to near kindred.
Indeed, he does. And that's not the last time we're going to see him dropping a proverb.
No, he does this
We'll see a few more, I think, throughout the chapter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that near kindred bit, well, that's when he drops the bombshell that Boromir was his brother. And wow, that hits. Yeah.
It does. And it's like just saying the words out loud.
Yeah.
Suddenly, this shadow of sorrow passes over him. I think it's one of those things. It's like now that he's said it out loud.
Yeah. It makes it so once more. It brings a power to it, even though it already is true. Yeah.
Right. And so this shadow passes over him. And then after that, he asks this important question. Do you remember anything special that Boromir carried with him?
Yeah. Frodo rightly is a little afraid. This is a trap,
Yeah.
What did he carry with him? String. Oh, nothing. Oh, no, that was in Bilbo's pocket. Yeah. I mean, what could he have had with him that was so important?
Mm-hmm.
So he begins to worry, not just about the trap, but what's he going to do with 200 or 300 guys if Faramir decides he's going to take the ring? Never mind the fact it makes him invisible. He could just run and hide. I'm going to leave that aside.
I guess there is that. Yeah.
There are 200 or 300 guys. It might be a little harder to hide from that many people poking holes in the ferns trying to find you.
Yeah. And of course, he just doesn't want to put the ring on this close to
Mordor.
Mordor.
This close to Mordor?
Yeah.
No. So he's rightfully concerned, yeah.
Yeah. But then he realizes something very important. And I think it's really, really cool how perceptive Frodo is here.
Oh, he is. That's one of his skill sets all along, isn't it, though?
It really is. Yeah, you're right. He recognizes that, even though Faramir may look like Boromir, he's different. He's humbler. Less self-regarding. That means he's humbler. He doesn't think as highly of himself. He's wiser.
I love that phrase, though. Less self-regarding.
Less self-regarding.
That's a great turn of phrase, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he finds comfort here.
Yeah,
I think,
he does.
Faramir feels like somebody he can trust more than Boromir. And so he does answer the question. He says he remembers Boromir's horn.
I think, you used to hit on something here. He's opening up a little bit. He's beginning to trust Faramir more. And I think what we see throughout this chapter is a process of each of them trusting the other just a little bit more each few paragraphs.
I think you're right.
And, until we get to the end of probably next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a neat process to see.
Yeah.
So the horn, good answer. Well, survey says, yeah, you survived this round. Congratulations.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. And Faramir does see this as another indication that Frodo's being truthful. So yeah, Frodo feels like he can trust him a little bit more than he could have trusted Boromir because he's humbler and wiser. So then when he speaks the truth, Faramir sees this as another indication that Frodo is being truthful. And so
that's right.
their level of communication increases, the level of trust increases.
Yeah. You remember as one who has in truth seen him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Faramir, see, if he was super doubtful, if I was super doubtful, what would I have done? I said, okay, fine.
Okay, what kind of horn?
What did the horn look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or I might have tricked him and say, oh yeah, that black horn with the gold bars.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one. And then Frodo would be, oh yeah, I remember that. Nope, I'm going to kill you now.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But he doesn't do that. He actually describes the horn for us. Definitely not a tactical move if he's trying to trip Frodo up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's making a connection to Frodo here. He is. He's not playing chess or fencing with him at this point. He's sharing information.
I think you're right. Even though that's very much a good description of what he's been doing all along.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or fencing. Yeah.
I think he's pausing in that now. And this next bit is him like, okay, now I'm going to be truthful and answer your question as fully as I can, because I do think I can trust you. And maybe you want to hear this as well.
That's a neat story. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's important. I mean, if Frodo was actually a friend of Boromir, then he'll want to know what happened and how Faramir knows about it. And so anyway, back to the horn.
Yeah.
Faramir describes it as a great horn of the wild ox of the east.
Yeah.
It was bound with silver, with ancient writing on it. And, I kind of wish we had pulled this out when we first described the horn.
Yeah.
Back, like two seasons ago.
I know.
I wish we had, but oh well.
I do too.
We're here now.
It's a missed opportunity, but we're here now. Right.
We're here now. So great horn, wild ox of the east, bound with silver with these ancient writings on it, and then gives us a history of the horn. It's actually been worn by the eldest son of their house for many generations, he says.
And I've got to say, Faramir's sort of understating the case when he says many generations. As we'll read next season, Denethor gives Pippin a bit more of the history of this horn. He explains that the eldest son of their house has borne this horn far back into the vanished years before the failing of the kings, since Verondil, father of Mardil, hunted the wild kine of Araw in the far fields of Rhûn. Now, Verondil was the father of Mardil, as Denethor explained, but Mardil was the first ruling steward of Gondor. Verondil lived from 1919 to 2029, so somewhere in there is when he, killed the kine of Araw and made the horn. Let's assume around 2000. Once again, it's now 3019. The horn is over 1,000 years old. It's been many generations indeed.
Wow. Yeah. So this horn has been around since longer than the stewards have been ruling.
Yeah, that's right. A generation before the ruling steward of Gondor became, the one running the show.
That's an old horn, man.
It is a really old horn. Yeah.
And fun fact / little word nerdery about the kine of Araw.
Okay.
That gave their horn.
Gave.
Probably not willingly.
Here you go, Verondil. You want this horn? I can give it to you.
It's like the cow in Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Try a bit of my
particularly
shoulder.
Tender. Really tender. I've been.
If you'd like, have my horn. It will serve your family for 1,000 years. So, kine, not a terribly common word anymore, but it's basically just an archaic plural of the word cow.
Right.
But Araw, this is very interesting. Araw is the Sindarin form of the name Orome.
Oh, no way.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I thought it was like an area, right? The kind of,
of like this region of Rhûn.
Of this region in Rhûn, yeah.
Sure, that's a reasonable thing to assume.
Araw.
Yeah. The kine of Araw. It does kind of sound like that.
Yeah.
No, it actually is Orome. In a footnote to Appendix A, Tolkien says, the wild white kine that were still to be found near the Sea of Rhûn were said in legend to be descended from the kine of Araw, the huntsman of the Valar.
No way. Oh my goodness. That is awesome.
Yep. And it says, who alone of the Valar came often to Middle-earth in the elder days.
Yeah.
Orome is the high elven form of his name.
Ha 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 ha.
And I think this is super cool because,
Yeah, it is.
first of all, it's another mention of Orome,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we've talked, was it last time? I think we talked about the fact that the Valar are not mentioned
Yeah.
very often.
Very
in Lord of
often
the
at all.
Rings. A handful of times, less than 5.
Yeah, exactly. The Valar
Yeah.
being mentioned just last episode about, may the Valar turn him aside, talking about the
Right.
Mumak.
Right.
And we get another mention coming up.
The
Yeah.
Bema part later on in book 5. Here's another mention of Orome. So I think that's super cool. But the other thing that's really
Wow.
cool about this is, what special item was Orome known for?
His horn.
His horn.
You're right.
The
Oh
Valaroma.
my goodness. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. There are moments sometimes when doing this show, you put together these facts and you just get blown away by them.
Yeah.
I remember, for me, it was the moment when I was studying the Elisar and realizing that this thing that Galadriel gave him wasn't just this jewel. It was a symbol that she was approving of his marriage to Arwen.
His marriage. Yeah.
Because elven mothers would give their daughters intended a gift.
Right.
And that was what she was doing in lieu of Arwen's own mother, who is no longer with us in Middle Earth. Those kinds of tie-ins that you only get when you dig super, super, super deep.
Yeah, you have to dig into, I mean, here, this is in the appendices. This Kine of Araw bit is in the appendices. But, you dig into the appendices, Unfinished Tales,
History of Middle Earth,
Silmarillion, History of Middle Earth. You get these
gems.
bits. And, Kine of Araw is one of those things that's kind of a textual ruin, but it's also not.
Is.
There's no reason to think that there's much there. You just like, oh, okay, well, just the.
I thought it was.
Like you said,
I thought that's exactly what it was. A textual ruin, the Kine of Araw. Where's Araw? I don't know where Araw is. Oh, it's a who.
But it's also one you probably wouldn't care about. Like, it's not like the Cats of Queen Beruthiel where you're like, oh, interesting.
Right. What a fun little story, right?
Yeah. This is just like, oh, okay, well, like the cows of West Texas. I mean, like, it's not.
It's just a herd of cattle. Right.
Right. It's not something special. But then you dig in and you realize, oh, this is this ancient line of wild cattle that's descended from Orome's cattle. That's amazing.
And that horn, in some ways, is going to be similar in some ways to Orome's own horn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So cool.
That really is cool. And Faramir, after giving us, a little bit of that history that we've been expanded upon, gives a mention of its special power. He says, if it be blown at need anywhere within the bounds of Gondor, as the realm was of old, its voice will not pass unheeded. Now, I want us to talk at length about that, but we have a question in Barlowman's bag tonight specifically on this exact thing. So we're going to hold off for now and move on to the next passage. You're going to pick up exactly where I left off.
Yes, I am. 5 days ere I set out on this venture, 11 days ago at about this hour of the day, I heard the blowing of that horn. From the northward it seemed, but dim, as if it were but an echo in the mind. A boding of ill, we thought it, my father and I, for no tidings had we heard of Boromir since he went away, and no watcher on our borders had seen him pass. And on the third night after, another and stranger thing befell me. I sat at night by the waters of Anduin, in the grey dark under the young pale moon, watching the ever-moving stream, and the sad reeds were rustling. So did we ever watch the shores nigh Osgiliath, which our enemies now partly hold, and issue from it to harry our lands. But that night all the world slept at the midnight hour. Then I saw, or it seemed that I saw, a boat floating on the water, glimmering grey, a small boat of a strange fashion with a high prow, and there was none to row or steer it. An awe fell on me, for a pale light was round it. But I rose and went to the bank, and began to walk out into the stream, for I was drawn towards it. Then the boat turned towards me, and stayed its pace, and floated slowly by within my hand's reach. Yet I durst not handle it. It waded deep, as if it were heavily burdened, and it seemed to me as it passed under my gaze that it was almost filled with clear water, from which came the light. And lapped in the water, a warrior lay asleep. A broken sword was on his knee. I saw many wounds on him. It was Boromir, my brother, dead. I knew his gear, his sword, his beloved face. One thing only I missed, his horn. One thing only I knew not, a fair belt, as it were of linked golden leaves, about his waist. "Boromir," I cried, "where is thy horn? Whither goest thou? O Boromir!" But he was gone. The boat turned into the stream and passed glimmering on into the night. Dreamlike it was, and yet no dream, for there was no waking. And I do not doubt that he is dead, and is passed down the river to the sea.
Pardon me while I get a Kleenex or two. That passage slays me every time. I wanted you to read that this time because I looked back at our chapter on Boromir, and I realized that at the time I read this passage to talk about what would happen later because I love it so much.
Yes, you did.
And I thought, well, I can't read it twice, so I got to give this to Sean.
Well, thank you for that. I enjoyed reading it.
It's such a beautiful passage.
It is.
I mean, there's a lot to say about it, and we will say a lot, but it really is just overall the thing that strikes me the most is how beautiful, how poignant, how tender, and how loving this passage is.
Mm-hmm. And tranquil.
Yes.
And sad, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very somber and sorrowful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and break it down. We'll, Faramir relates this experience that we have talked about on the show many times. It won't stop us from doing it again. It never does.
Certainly not. And this is 5 days before leaving Minas Tirith, which would have been 11 days ago. Faramir heard the horn blow.
That's right.
And the 11 days lines up perfectly because Boromir was killed on February 26th.
That's right. But the timing is interesting. Boromir died we'll get to this in the bag, but Boromir died around noon that day. Faramir hears the horn at about this hour, and we know it's late afternoon. But like I said, we'll touch on that real soon here in the bag, so we'll move on for now.
Okay, let's do that. So Faramir and Denethor thought it was a bad omen.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was, exactly. Yeah. Right.
But the reason they thought it was a bad omen was because they'd heard no news of him. Nobody had seen Boromir cross back into Gondor.
No, and he's been gone a long time because, we think back to the council, but realize how much earlier than the council he had to leave to get to the council when they did.
Right.
So he's been gone a year, probably, pretty close to it.
Yeah, very long time.
But now it's more than hearing the horn. 3 nights later, on the 29th of February, Faramir is watching the shores of Anduin near Osgiliath around midnight, and he spots something. He spots a boat on the water. Boat on the water. Boromir in the sky. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway. No, the boat is glimmering gray. It's small. It has a high prow. So now we're already starting to envision it because we remember seeing this in Lorien.
Yep.
And no one is visibly on board from where he's standing. Yeah.
Right. And then this description just gets lovelier and lovelier as we see what he sees. He describes this pale light and this sense of being drawn towards it.
Yeah.
The boat slows down and it floats close to him. But he dares not touch it, durst. That's another example of Tolkien using archaic language for the men of Minas Tirith, which is something he did with Boromir too.
That's true. That's
basically just means he dares not touch it. I did not dare touch it, basically.
Yeah.
And then it's filled with this clear water, and the light is coming from the water.
Wow.
Which is a wonderfully Lorien-ish image.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And he sees a warrior with a broken sword lying asleep. Not really asleep.
Well, yeah.
In the boat.
Yeah.
I make light of it, but I mean, he looked asleep. There's a peacefulness to the scene.
Yes. Yeah, there is. There absolutely is. And we'll see a quote next week. I'll just go ahead and say it now. He talks about how his face was lovelier than it was even when he was alive. There is a peacefulness.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get to why that is next week. But
yeah,
this is when he recognizes this warrior, this sleeping warrior, as his brother Boromir, right? He knows his gear. He recognizes, all of the things he's wearing, his sword. And of course, he recognizes his face. Then he notices the horn is missing.
His beloved face. That's beautiful.
Thank you for catching that. You're absolutely right. It is his dear face, his beloved face.
This is my brother.
This is my brother. Exactly.
Yeah.
Who I loved, who we all loved. I mean, okay, he had his weaknesses, and Faramir will talk about that. He'll acknowledge that. But we all loved him. He was our captain general. He was the guy we looked up to. He's a guy I looked up to. I'm Faramir. I'm this guy who's got all these great character traits, but I looked up to my brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. His beloved face.
As any little brother would.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah. He notices the horn is missing. And then he also notices something he'd never seen before, and that's the belt. And he cries out to Boromir. So emotional. Oh, so gut-wrenching. Where is thy horn? Whither goest thou? But he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
And Faramir says that this was like a dream, but it was not a dream. It was definitely not a dream because I did not wake up.
Yeah.
And I am certain, he says, that Boromir is dead and has passed into the sea.
That's right. And we'll get to discuss that more next week when Frodo actually thinks, oh, you must have seen a dream. It must have been just a vision. We'll get to that. But for now, I cried out, where is thy bag? Whither goest thou, O Barlaman? But he was gone.
Thank you. We needed some comic relief after
We
that.
did. What did Barlaman manage to leave us before he sailed out to the sea?
A beautiful face and a broken horn. All right. Well, let's see. What do we have first here?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. We hinted that this was coming. EVD in Boston, Massachusetts asked us, in the chapter A Window on the West, when Faramir and Frodo are talking in front of the rest of the Gondor Rangers regarding Boromir and his horn, Faramir says, 5 days ere I set out on this venture, 11 days ago at about this hour of the day, I heard the blowing of that horn. From the northward it seemed, but dim, as if it were but an echo in the mind. Evie asks, how is it that Faramir could have heard a dim echo of Boromir's horn on that fateful day that the Fellowship split, when there was never any mention of Frodo and Sam hearing the horn call from across the river?
Oh, boy. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
All right. This is another one of your curvature of the earth, decibel level of the horns of the Moran sort of thing, Alan.
Yeah, my new
You're
niche.
You're the one with the need for scientific accuracy in the physics of Middle Earth. What do you got on this one?
All right. Well, let's go back to what we touched on earlier in the episode. The passage says Faramir heard the horn 5 days before leaving Minas Tirith. That's 11 days ago. We'd mentioned that the timing of this is interesting, and here's why. We believe Boromir died around noon on the 26th, and we can judge that on the mention of time during the events of the day. First, they ate their morning meal after the sun came up. Aragorn says that Frodo has to make a decision. Frodo asks for an hour and then wanders off and has his little chat with Boromir. Before he does run into Boromir, he comes upon a little upland lawn filled now with the early sunlight. Now, when Boromir returns, he tells Aragorn it's been a half an hour or an hour since he'd seen Frodo. Then after Boromir's death, Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas have enough time to search the bodies of the orcs, debate about the riddle that their findings on the body of the orcs creates, the white hand and the S. They have enough time to build a bier, prepare Boromir's body, carry it to the water, and write the verses of the song that they're about to sing.
Yeah.
And then as they head out, we read, the steep sides of Tol Brandir were glowing. It was now mid-afternoon. So sometime between early sunlight and mid-afternoon was when Boromir died. And given the length of time that the 300s took to sort through the orc bodies and prepare Boromir's body for its departure, noon plus or minus an hour maybe seems pretty likely.
That makes sense. They would have needed a couple of hours to search the bodies and prepare his body. Sure.
Yeah. And it's only mid-afternoon. So mid-afternoon to me is maybe 2 o'clock at the latest.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time you're talking about 3, 4, that's late afternoon. And
maybe
that's 2 to
3. I'd go as late as 3, but not later than
that's
3.
Fair.
Certainly
that's
not.
fair. Okay. The point, though, is that this chapter begins in the late afternoon, right? Sam wakes up from his nap and it's late afternoon. So Faramir heard the horns about this hour, late afternoon, even though it was blown probably around noon or even a little before, because, of course, the horn was blown before Boromir died. So what's that time difference about? Well, okay, it takes time for sound to travel. The distance between Parth Galen and Minas Tirith is about 220 miles as the crow flies. Sound would take about 16, 17 minutes for it to travel that far. That's not several hours. So
that's the Alan analysis I was looking for. All
there
right.
you go. Just wait. I've got more. I promise you, I've got a lot more. So I don't think we're talking about physical sound waves. They would have arrived far too soon. I believe that the fact that the voice of the horn, quote, will not pass unheeded is some sort of magia. It's a power inherent in the horn, again, as long as it meets those guidelines, right? When blown at need within the old borders of Gondor. And that what Faramir heard, and Denethor as well, as we'll see next season, was indeed but an echo in the mind. The timing
Ding, ding,
does
ding.
not work.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly. But I told you I give you some more scientific stuff. There's also the issue of sound levels just for fun. If they had heard the actual horn, right, the physical pressure of the sound waves reverberating from the horn itself, well, then we'd have to consider just how loud the horn was to be heard that far away. So let's go back to the Black Gate is closed. When we looked at that, Frodo and Sam were at the Morannon and they heard the horns and drums of Barad-dûr. We measured the distances and came to the conclusion that the drums and horns would have to have been 135 decibels or so for them to hear it as loud as a whisper 120 miles away. Now that's jet airplane loud, 135 decibels. Right. So, okay, he's not going to meet the safety regulations. He probably doesn't really care about the long-term health of his orcs. So that I believe that. I buy that.
Sure, yeah.
But here we're talking nearly double that distance. Nearly, well, let's call it 220 miles, just to be generous. To hear it at a whisper level, which is 30 decibels, that's a very quiet sound. I mean, my dishwasher runs at 40 and I can't hear it 12 feet away in the living room. It's super quiet. 30 dB is even quieter. It's like the quietest whisper level you can imagine.
Okay.
To hear it even at that level, assuming it was that quiet, the horn would have had to generate a sound of 200 decibels. Now,
oh my gosh,
that's a huge sound. Eardrums rupture at around 150. And a sound pressure level, because you got to remember, sound is just a change in the pressure of the air, right? And then the little tiny membranes in your ear move, and that's what you hear as sound.
And the decibel scale is logarithmic, right? I mean, so like, it's not like 10 decibels is like a huge increase over like,
I believe it's something like every 6 decibels is doubled or something along those lines. Okay. I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's something like that.
Right.
So eardrums ruptured around 150. Sound pressure levels above 185, fatal. Blow your lungs out of your body. Fatal. Kill you. Kill you. The air pressures would pop your lungs. Not kidding.
Wow.
So no, it can't have been the actual sound waves, right? We don't have a field of dead orcs and a dead Boromir who's bleeding from the ears. No, not the actual sound waves. It was a magical horn blown at need in the realm of Gondor. And indeed, its voice did not pass unheeded. And I've got to say, I think that explains exactly why Frodo and Sam didn't hear it from across the river. They are no longer in the realm of Gondor as the realm was of old. So they would only hear the natural physical sound of the horn, and they were out of its range by that point.
Yeah, I mean, you stole my thunder. That's where I was going with it. And I got to say, you over-explained it to a wonderful degree. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I wanted. And that's why I let you go first, because I knew I couldn't compete with that. That was amazing.
Man. Have I ever related this story to you? I had an employer once who introduced me at a holiday party to somebody, and he said, "This is Alan. Don't ask him what time it is. He'll tell you how to build a clock."
I think you did tell me that story before.
Yeah. I still hold that against him, but
I love it.
He's not wrong.
No, that was wonderful. I mean, I had no idea that there is such thing as a fatal level of sound. I mean, it makes sense.
Just to give you an idea, I was reading about some of the loudest sounds ever. So like the sound of the Krakatoa volcano, that was actually the sound waves traveled around the world. People heard it after it had come all the way around the globe. How loud that was, even, hundreds of miles away. And it would have absolutely, the sound waves alone would have killed you if the volcanic ash and poisonous fumes didn't kill you.
Right, yeah.
Just the pressure would have quite literally, burst your lungs.
Just like burst your lungs. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So clearly, Boromir did not have a horn of lethal volume. So that sounds like an amazing
volume +2. That's the one I want.
An amazing rare drop in a game.
Mm-hmm. Better come with the earplugs.
Yeah. Better. Absolutely better. I'm reminded of Legolas in the movie saying, "That is no orc horn."
Good. Yeah.
And clearly, even though it was not a horn of fatal volume, it was no ordinary horn that Boromir bore. No. Like you, I am convinced that this was magic.
Right.
And I don't think that either Faramir or Denethor heard the physical sound of the horn blowing.
No.
We talked about this earlier. That horn, the eldest son of our house, has borne for many generations, and it is said that if it be blown at need, anywhere within the bounds of Gondor, as the
Anywhere.
realm was of old.
Yeah.
Its voice will not pass unheeded. I mean, so many things in that tell us that this is a magical horn. It'll be heard anywhere.
Yeah, these are all conditions. Yeah.
It'll be heard anywhere, but only when blown at need and only within the bounds of Gondor. You can't put those kinds of restrictions on physical sound waves.
No,
this is magia, for
That's
sure.
absolute magia. You're right.
And I also note that Faramir says that its voice will not pass unheeded.
Ooh,
not unheard, but
that's
unheeded.
a good catch. That's a very good catch. Yeah.
Yeah, and to heed means to take notice of, to attend to. So that means that the horn is not just going to be heard, but it's going to be heard by someone who needs to hear it. Somebody who's in a position to do something about it, or who's going to need that information.
Right.
And it seems like that's exactly who heard it. Faramir and Denethor, Boromir's brother and father. And the fact that Faramir says it was like an echo in the mind, well, I think it's meant to tell us that it was exactly that. It was an echo in the mind. And it was an echo that Faramir heard because he needed to hear it and to heed it. So, I'm right there with you. I don't have as many cool facts and stories to relate about it, but that's why I let you go first. So that was
just
awesome.
Fun to dig that stuff up.
Oh,
and
great.
I'm sure, please, if you are an acoustical engineer and I'm off on a little bit, just let me know privately. I'm sure I made some mistakes and amateurized this quite a bit. I did want to simplify it. I didn't want to turn it into a 45-minute lecture. So,
well, look, the point is well taken. It was definitely no ordinary horn, not even a horn.
No ordinary horn indeed. That is quite true. Yeah.
Well, how are we doing on time? Do we have time for one more? I think we do, don't we?
I think we do. Yeah. Yeah. Catherine G sent this one in a while back. It's not really a question so much as a theory about how both Bilbo and Sam are able to give up the ring peacefully. Catherine says, the love that both Bilbo and Sam have for Frodo outweighs their desire for the ring. I think it's possible, she says, that Tolkien is making a point about love, real, unconditional love, as being the antidote for desire. Bilbo desires the ring because he likes the way it makes him feel. It makes him feel smarter than the people around him. He feels superior in a sense because of the experience he's had and the special ring he holds. The ring shows Sam a desire of being a hero. He craves being more than what he is, a simple servant. However, in both cases, their love for Frodo conquers their desires, and that is why they are able to give the ring up. Then she makes some comparisons with Beren and the Silmaril and says, Bilbo and Sam are pure of heart because of their love for Frodo. Love is the antidote. Then in a later email, she goes on to say, discussing Frodo's eventual, what she called corruption by the ring, we never really see Frodo go out of his way for any of his friends. This might just be due to the nature of the story, and certainly the decision to go on the journey and destroy the ring is going out of his way for sure. But what exactly is the reason he does it, other than that he was meant to have the ring? At each decision point in the books, Catherine says, it seems like the decision was thrust upon him without his truly wanting to actually do it. Based on the evidence I have, Frodo sets out to destroy the ring for the Shire, but forgets his love for the Shire and is therefore corrupted. He did not set out to save his friends or people, but the place, and having forgotten the place, takes the ring for himself. Now, and she might be right. Catherine acknowledges some folks might hate this theory because it doesn't exactly cast Frodo in a great light, but she says she's okay with that. Sean, what are your thoughts?
This is interesting. This is a meaty theory.
It is. Yeah.
And there's a lot here, and I think we could talk about it for a few minutes here. I don't think we'll exhaust the possibilities of this theory. I think this is one that people may hate and may talk about, and people may find interesting and may talk about, and people may like and may talk about. For my part, I really like the idea that Bilbo and Sam's love for Frodo is at least partly what allows them to let go of the ring. So let's park that for now because I like that part. And let's talk about this quote unquote unpopular theory about Frodo. Did Frodo actually forget his love for the Shire? And is that what caused him to fail in his quest? I'm not so sure it is, honestly. Catherine says that Frodo never really goes out of his way for any of his friends. I suppose maybe that's true on the surface of it. I think Sam would probably disagree with that. Yeah. Especially after Frodo, ruined his own perfect escape and turned the boat around to save Sam from drowning.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I do think Frodo did go out for Sam in that way. Mm-hmm. But even if we ignore that instance and say, oh, well, Frodo never really goes out of the way for any of his friends, I'm okay with that because I'd say that they're all there to support him, not the other way around.
That's fair.
Right? The ring is Frodo's burden to bear. It is Frodo's quest.
Yeah, he's the only one that Elrond lays a charge on.
Yeah.
The others are all just to accompany him as they will. Yeah.
Yeah, the
You're
other
right.
8 members of the Fellowship are all there to go out of their way for him when he needs
Yeah.
them. Look, this is a silly analogy, but when my wife was giving birth to both of our kids, like, I did everything I could to make sure that she had what she needed from me. This was like,
Wise man.
this was her job to do, and I was there to support her. I didn't stop and complain like, well, you're not really going out of your way for me.
Oh man. You would not
And
be
if I had-
hosting this show.
She would have gotten out of that bed and punched me in the face
Yeah.
or someplace lower, and she would have been right to
Uh-huh.
do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think, it's Frodo's quest. They're there to support him.
Mm-hmm.
The way Catherine's worded the theory, it kind of suggests that Frodo failed because he was corrupted,
Yeah, that's what she says.
with the implication being that, someone purer like a Sam or a Bilbo would have succeeded. But there's a quote from Tolkien from letter number 181 to Michael Straight that I think makes it clear that this is not the case.
Yeah.
Tolkien says, Frodo was in such a position, an apparently complete trap. A person of greater native power could probably never have resisted the ring's lure to power so long. A person of less power could not hope to resist it in the final decision. Already, Frodo had been unwilling to harm the ring before he set out, and was incapable of surrendering it to Sam. The quest was bound to fail as a piece of world plan, and also was bound to end in disaster as the story of humble Frodo's development to the noble, his sanctification.
Wow.
Fail it would, and did, as far as Frodo, considered alone, was concerned.
Alone. Yeah, you're right. And we'll get to more of that, I think.
As far as Frodo considered alone, Frodo himself failed.
Right.
The quest succeeded, but Frodo on his own failed.
And Frodo always would have failed.
And
That's
Frodo
the point.
always would have failed. And Tolkien says this very clearly, that anyone of less power wouldn't have succeeded. Anyone of greater power wouldn't have succeeded. Therefore, nobody would have succeeded.
Right. And it was bound to fail as a piece of world plan.
That's right.
Right.
Now, there's another quote by Tolkien from letter number 192, where he says, "By chance, I have just had another letter regarding the failure of Frodo. Very few seem even to have observed it, but following the logic of the plot, it was clearly inevitable as an event. And surely it is a more significant and real event than a mere fairy story ending in which the hero is indomitable. It is possible for the good, even the saintly, to be subjected to a power of evil which is too great for them to overcome in themselves. In this case, the cause, not the hero, was triumphant, because by the exercise of pity, mercy, and forgiveness of injury, a situation was produced in which all was redressed and disaster averted." And of course, this is referring to all the circumstances that led to Gollum actually being there.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think that far from trying to show us Frodo was corrupted by any absence of love, I think Tolkien really means for us to see Frodo as doing better than anybody else could possibly have done in an impossible situation, and still failing, because it ultimately was an impossible situation for anyone to be in.
Fair.
But I think that we're meant to see Frodo as the only person who could have done as well as he did. And I think we're meant to see Frodo as strong for all that, not weak and corrupted.
I agree, actually. Let's start by conceding the obvious, okay? Sam's love, going back to that part of the question, Sam's love for Frodo was what kept him from falling into temptation. We see that very clearly. In a couple of seasons, we're going to read about how Sam is tempted by the ring, right? He sees this fantasy of Samwise the Strong, hero of the age, commanding the Vale of Gorgoroth to become a garden of flowers and trees.
Oh, yeah.
And then we read, in that hour of trial, it was the love of his master that helped most to hold him firm. So, yeah, his love of Frodo helps immensely. But as much as Bilbo loved Frodo, I don't know that we can ascribe his surrendering the ring to that love. Let's face it, he was reticent. He had to be persuaded, cajoled, arguably even scared by Gandalf in order to give up the ring. Love is an antidote, but I'm not convinced it's the only one, nor necessarily the one that fueled Bilbo. Nor do I think that Frodo loses sight of his love for the Shire. I struggle with that. I mean, I hear what she's saying, but I think I might have to disagree. That's not why he fails to destroy the ring himself. I think, as you pointed out in the letters, the quest was bound to fail. By its very nature, it is a quest that could never have been accomplished. There's another letter that explains that. It's letter 246, and he says this about Frodo's inability to destroy the ring. I do not think that Frodo's was a moral failure. At the last moment, the pressure of the ring would reach its maximum. Impossible, I should have said, for anyone to resist. Certainly after long possession, months of increasing torment, and when starved and exhausted. Frodo had done what he could and spent himself completely. as an instrument of providence, and had produced a situation in which the object of his quest could be achieved. His humility with which he began and his sufferings were justly rewarded by the highest honor, and his exercise of patience and mercy towards Gollum gained him mercy. His failure was redressed, just like you pointed out. And just a paragraph later in that letter, Tolkien adds this: Frodo undertook his quest out of love, to save the world he knew from disaster at his own expense if he could, and also in complete humility, acknowledging that he was wholly inadequate to the task. His real contract was only to do what he could, to try to find a way, and to go as far on the road as his strength of mind and body allowed. He did that. I do not myself see that the breaking of his mind and will under demonic pressure after torment was any more of a moral failure than the breaking of his body would have been, say by being strangled by Gollum or crushed by a falling rock.
So, boy, that says it all, really.
It does. It does. In the end, I'm going to agree that Sam's love for Frodo is a partial antidote, along with his plain Hobbit sense, by the way, the text tells us.
True.
But I do think the jury's out on whether love was what enabled Bilbo to give up the ring, and I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with this idea that Frodo forgot his love for the Shire, or that it was merely for the place and not the people, and I'm certainly going to have to disagree with the idea that he was corrupted.
Yeah, I do too.
Sorry,
I mean, I think
Catherine, it's an interesting idea.
No, it's a very interesting theory, and I think it's a really cool parsing and interpretation of.
And it's not an unreasonable one on its face. No,
not on its face, but I also think that it's not the version of events that Tolkien is trying to convey here. I think if we criticize Frodo for being corrupted, if we criticize Frodo for failing, if we fail to recognize that nobody could have done what Frodo did, I think we do kind of miss something of what Tolkien's trying to convey here. And then I think that's why I think it's important. Not because, I want Frodo to be redeemed or anything. I just think that's what Tolkien's trying to tell us. I think he's trying to tell us that this was an impossible task for anybody. And I think that just saying, well, Frodo was corrupted, I think it undermines Frodo's sacrifice a little bit. And I know that's not what Catherine's trying to do.
No, of course not.
But I do think that, I think when you look to the letters, I think it's pretty clear what Tolkien's trying to convey here. But
I have to admit, the fact that we had to go to the letters is why this is not an unreasonable theory to begin with.
That's true. Yeah, because on the face of the
text. Yeah,
that's true. That's
so
fair.
When we go in and we read this in the letters, okay, we can really now see those things that Tolkien is telling us in the text. But it takes a lot of work to dig through that and read that in the text without having seen these words from Tolkien himself.
Yeah. And that's why, like you say, that's why it's a reasonable theory until you kind of look deeper into the letters. And that's why the letters are so valuable, right? Because you see things that are just not in the text. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, that wraps it up for another episode of the Prancing Pony Podcast. But please be sure to join us again next week when Faramir hits near the mark.
But not in the gold.
No.
And folks, we want to take a moment to thank the team that helps make this show better. That's our research assistants, along with our Barlowman, Becca Davis, producer Jordan Rennells, social media manager Casey Hilsey, event and Patreon community coordinator Katie McKenna, and website guru Phil Dean.
Speaking of the website, please be sure to visit us there at theprancingponypodcast.com. We've got show notes, hilarious outtakes, Prancing Pony ponderings, and our online storefront where you can get all sorts of PPP merch.
And definitely check out our library page. You know we love the books here at the Prancing Pony Podcast, and we've provided links for you to get nearly every book we mention on the show. And we do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so thank you.
Now, we also want to thank some more really important people. Those would be our patrons at the Kierdance contribution tier. Let's start with DeMay in Alaska, James in Virginia, Tamsin in Minnesota, Chad in Texas, Lance in New Jersey, Paul in Colorado, Jerry in Texas, Bruce in California, Mario in Utah, Seth in Texas, B in California, Joseph in Texas, and Kathy from North Carolina.
And then we have Lori from Washington, Carlos in California, Brian from the UK, Ned from Connecticut, Jerry from Washington, Joe in Washington, Erwin from the Netherlands, Hal from Washington, D.C., Lise in Switzerland, Dylan in Australia, Ben in Minnesota, Anthony in Texas, and Dorwin in Michigan. Thank you all so very much for your support.
Indeed.
And everyone out there, please be sure you don't miss any episodes of the Prancing Pony Podcast. Subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is.
And one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your Hobbit interrogation techniques to Barliman at theprancingponypodcast.com. Or maybe your Hobbit lawyer referrals. I don't know.
Just don't send us your Hobbit sauce.
No, please don't. I don't want your Hobbit sauce. And if you want a chance to have your actual voice heard, you can send us audio of you asking your question by visiting podinbox.com/prancingponypod and record your question for us. I think we're coming up real soon on having one or two of those on the show.
I think we are. I'm looking forward to that. But we do ask that you please still send the question to Barliman. Now, Barliman's a lot more reliable lately, but we do get a lot of mail, so we'll get to you as soon as we can, and your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.